I always had dark desires for my stepfather. I wanted him to handle me in the most hardcore way. And that's what happened when he found me changing clothes. Life had been pretty simple before, and I was used to it, just being me and her. But when she introduced me to Ryan, my new stepfather, something shifted in ways I couldn't have imagined at first. I didn't pay much attention to him. He was just another man in the house, polite, distant, and always respecting boundaries. He was older, but there was something about the way he carried himself with quiet confidence and a mysterious air that drew people to him. I didn't think much of it really. It wasn't like I was looking for anything. But then, one day, everything changed. It was late in the afternoon. I had just gotten back from a long day at work and felt the need for a shower to wash away the heat of the day. Mom was out with her friends, leaving me and Ryan alone in the house. I didn't think twice about it, because we had shared this space many times before. But this time felt different. For some reason, there was a charged atmosphere, an unspoken tension that lingered in the air. I was in my room, the soft hum of the air conditioning filling the silence as I began to change my clothes. I had stripped off my work attire, standing there in just my underwear, when I heard the sound of footsteps just outside my door. My heart skipped a beat. I hadn't locked the door. Why hadn't I locked the door? But I didn't move, almost frozen in place. And then it happened. The door opened slowly, and there he was, standing in the doorway, his eyes meeting mine for a moment. Neither of us moved. I didn't cover myself, I couldn't. Something inside me didn't want to. Ryan stood there, his gaze sweeping over my body in a way that made my skin tingle. He didn't speak, but his eyes said everything thick. There was a hunger, a desire that I had never seen in him before. I should have said something, should have pushed him out and shut the door. But instead, I stood still, letting him take in the sight of me. He finally broke the silence, his voice low and thick. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to," his words trailed off. But there was no apology in his tone. I could feel my pulse quicken, my breath becoming shallow as I turned slightly toward him, almost inviting him to stay longer. "It's fine," I said softly, my own voice barely above a whisper, surprising even myself. I didn't want him to leave, in fact. I wanted him to stay. I wanted him to do more than just... Look, he hesitated, but only for a second before he stepped into the room. Closing the door behind him, his presence felt overwhelming, every inch of my body aware of him. He moved closer, slowly, as if giving me the chance to stop him to say no. But I didn't. I couldn't. Ryan reached out his hand, brushing against my arm lightly. His touch was electrifying, and I leaned into it, craving more. He stepped even closer, his breath warm against my skin, and I could feel the tension between us building. With every passing second, my mind was racing, but my body was responding in ways I couldn't control. I wanted this. I wanted him. "Are you sure?" He asked, his voice rough with desire, his fingers grazing the edge of my bare skin. I nodded, biting my lip as I looked up at him through my lashes. Yes, I breathed out my voice, barely audible, but filled with need. I couldn't deny the attraction anymore, and neither could he. His hands moved to my waist, pulling me gently against him, and I could feel the heat radiating from his body. His touch was tender, but firm, as if he had been waiting for this moment for a long time. I wrapped my arms around his neck, drawing him closer, and our lips finally met, soft at first, but quickly deepening as the passion between us ignited. Every kiss felt like fire, his hands roaming over my body, caressing me in ways that made my knees weak. I clung to him, pressing myself against him, as if I couldn't get enough time, seemed to slow down as we lost ourselves in each other. Every touch, every kiss, every breath, driving us further into this forbidden moment. He lifted me gently, placing me on the bed as he hovered above me. His eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that sent a thrill through me. His fingers traced a path down my neck, my collarbone, before stopping just above the waistband of my underwear. He paused, giving me one last chance to stop this. But I didn't want to. I wanted him more than I had ever wanted anything. "Please," I whispered, arching my back slightly, pressing myself into him. "Don't stop." That was all the encouragement he needed. His hands moved lower, slipping under the fabric, and I gasped at the sensation of his fingers on my bare skin. He was gentle, taking his time, as if savoring every moment, every touch. I could feel the tension building inside me, every nerve in my body on fire as he explored me with his hands, his lips trailing kisses down my neck, my chest, until I was trembling beneath him. The room was filled with the sound of our heavy breathing, our whispered words of need and desire. He took his time, making sure every moment was drawn out, every sensation heightened, until I was on the brink of losing control. And then, just as I thought I couldn't take it anymore, he stopped pulling back slightly to look at me, his eyes dark with lust. "You're so beautiful," he murmured, his hand cupping my face as he kissed me softly, almost tenderly. "I've wanted you for so long." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. But in that moment, I didn't care. All I wanted was him and the way he made me feel. I pulled him down to me, kissing him deeply, letting him know without words that I felt the same. Our bodies moved together in perfect harmony, every touch, every kiss sending waves of pleasure through me. The intensity of it all was overwhelming, and I could feel myself losing control, surrendering completely to the moment, to him. And just as the climax was about to hit, he paused again, teasing me, delaying the inevitable. He smiled against my skin, knowing exactly what he was doing, and I moaned in frustration, begging him to continue. "Not yet," he whispered, his voice low and filled with promise. "I want this to last." And so he took his time, drawing out every moment, making sure I felt every touch, every kiss, until I was trembling with anticipation, on the edge of losing myself completely. And when the moment finally came, it was more intense than anything I had ever experienced. A wave of pleasure that washed over me, leaving me breathless and spent. He held me afterward, his arms wrapped around me as we lay there in the silence, our bodies still tangled together. I could feel his heart beating against mine, steady and calm. And I knew that everything had changed between us. This wasn't just a fleeting moment. It was something more, something deeper. We didn't speak, but we didn't need to. The connection between us was stronger than words could ever express, and as we lay there, I knew that this was only the beginning of something we both couldn't deny, something we both wanted. His lips trailed down my neck, leaving a burning path of heat on my skin. The sensation was intoxicating, each kiss sending a jolt of pleasure through my body. I could feel his breath quickening, mirroring my own, as our bodies pressed closer together. His hands, firm yet gentle, moved over every inch of me, exploring, teasing, making me ache with anticipation. I gasped as his fingers curled into my hair, pulling me into another deep, passionate kiss that left me breathless. Our tongues danced together, the taste of him only making me want him more. My body responded instinctively, arching toward him, desperate for every touch, every caress. Time seemed to blur as we became lost in each other. Our hands' roaming lips locked the heat between us, building to an almost unbearable level. His touch grew more urgent, more insistent, as did mine. pulling him closer, needing to feel all of him. I could feel the desire pulsing between us, our breathing ragged and heavy as we let go of everything except the need to be together. In this moment, the world outside disappeared, leaving only the sensation of his skin against mine, his mouth exploring mine, his body pressed against me, overwhelming me with the intensity of it all. It was pure, raw passion, and neither of us wanted it to end.